Welcome to Surviving Roots, the podcast where we navigate the messy, beautiful work of healing and growth. I'm your host, Cari, and this is your space to breathe, reflect, and find strength. Whether you're breaking free from old patterns, healing from loss, or rebuilding your story one small step at a time, you're in the right place. So take a deep breath, give yourself this time, and let's uncover the tools to move forward with courage. This podcast is for you. Valeria Lipovetsky has built more than a brand. She's built a movement. With a community of millions and partnerships with the world's most recognized brands, Valeria has redefined what it means to be a creator in today's landscape. She's a storyteller, a strategist, a creative force, and beyond all of that, she's a wife and devoted mom to 3 boys. Hi, Valeria.
Hi, that was beautiful.
How are you feeling today?
I feel good.
Yeah?
I'm so excited to be here.
You look beautiful.
Thank you so much. You too.
Thank you.
Gary told me, he's like, I'm warning you, you're going to enjoy every second of it.
The pressure, Valeria.
He's like, she knows how to ask questions. I'm like, okay,
gosh.
I'm ready.
Well,
but we're having a conversation.
Yes, we are having a conversation. I will say, I've done this probably like 35 times, but I've only done this 35 times. And every time I still get really nervous.
Same.
Do you? I
mean, well, it's nerve-wracking because I also want to make sure, and I don't know if you feel the same, but you have to be self-aware so you are able to listen and participate, but you're also like reading the other person's energy. It's a lot going on while also being an active listener.
It really is. Like, if you would think like mom tasking would build me for this, but still it's not enough.
No,
it's not enough.
Because you're dealing with adults, so it's like it needs to be a bit more.
Yeah, you really have to have your game on. My daughter noticed I was a little nervous this morning, and she was like, "Why are you so nervous?" I was like, "Oh, you meet new people, you're doing new things." And she's like, I'll tell you what you tell me during a tennis competition." And I'm like, "What?" And she's like, "You're a bad bitch, mommy. Just go and have fun." And I'm like,
I love
my
that.
God, my 10-year-old's cursing. My husband's like, "Are you seriously saying that to her?" I'm just like, well, I mean, yes, I am. She's a bad bitch.
I think that if you use it properly, it is very powerful.
Oh my gosh. Well, I want to jump in because there's so many things that we could talk about today. I'd first like to share how I first met you. Before we jump in. My husband and I met you and Gary at a parent event a couple of years ago. And you were introduced to us as a content creator. And I didn't even really think much of it because you hear that word a lot these days, especially in Miami. And, when you and my husband were talking, because I can be very shy sometimes, you were not leading with what you do or your work or your accomplishments. You guys were talking about Judaism. You were talking about Beersheba. You guys ended up finding out that you had you both knew a family in Beersheba, and you guys had just the most refreshing, grounding conversation. Not like, what do you do? Where are you from? Where are you traveling this summer? And my first impression of you was just like, wow, what a real person. Because sometimes that's really hard to come by, I think, these days.
Thank you. That means a lot. I agree, though. And I think it's not only in Miami. I think in general we've been a little bit on autopilot of placing people, based on those things. Yeah, it's true. And then a couple weeks go by, my friend shares this amazing reel, and I see Valeria, the name, and I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, you're not a content creator. This is not a woman with 10,000 followers, showing up every day. I was like, that they really undersold you. I was like, oh my gosh. But then it was still so wow. I really had such a respect for you because I would see you you and Gary, every day, or you guys dropping off your kids, showing up to the little recitals and rehearsals. And I find it so beautiful when I see parents that are busy doing their thing, but are so present for their kids. I love seeing that, especially coming from how I grew up. So I applaud you. You really are a real authentic person and a great mom. Thank you. Can I share core memory about you that I have? Yes. So do you remember? So for those who don't understand yet, our connection is we met at the school because our kids go to the same school. And I have such a vivid memory of you with the most gorgeous costume when we did the truck and treat. I just remember you were the Queen of Hearts. Yes. And I just remember looking at you and telling my friend, I'm like, Mary, look at this. This is amazing. Like, look, because we just bought these like Amazon, like
Minions. You were
kids.
Minions?
Yeah, we were Minions, kid size. We barely fit into it. And I was like, she has her life together. Look at the detail.
Oh my gosh. Surprisingly, that was really before I started my healing journey, and my perfectionism was running my life still. So, you never know what people's real stories are. That was when I was in major mom mode, flight or fight living, and I signed up and committed to everything because I kept myself so busy. And I spent so much time on that silly costume. My kids don't care. They were just happy that you show up. But it's funny that you noticed that. That was I don't know, I'd like to call myself a recovering perfectionist now, but that was, I like to say, the old Cari.
But you see, isn't it amazing to, like me sharing this memory of you, I looked from the side, evaluating you, being like, wow, she's really has it together. Like, this is such an amazing, and then feeling like I didn't do enough. Or for you, you were at a place where you were distracting yourself from the work you needed to do and put this whole thing together. Like, it's so interesting how we're just experiencing and have different perspectives about, each other.
It's so true. And you know what? This is a good reminder for everyone listening when you're looking at someone else's life, like, oh, well, they're so fit, or they're so healthy, or they're a great mom. You have to be careful about the stories that you tell yourself, because you never know what someone's life really is about. So just don't compare yourself, because it really is the thief of joy.
Have you read, I just finished this book, The Tale by Amy Griffin?
No, you just gave me chills. I'm dying to read it. I'm just scared that it will trigger me somehow. I feel like maybe there's some unresolved things I haven't dealt with.
It will trigger you, I'm letting you know.
Really?
But and listen, I don't know. I think you also need to be prepared, to be triggered if you are there or not. It's also very healthy to be like, I don't want to explore there yet. This is enough. But that book is, first of all, right up your alley. So when you are ready and going to read it, we're going to reconvene and talk about this.
Maybe we can have like a little book club sesh, because I saw you post about it and I was like, I'm just dying, but I don't know, for some reason it's in my shopping cart on Amazon. I just can't hit.
But I already, just from this story that we shared about the Halloween thing, you'll see a lot of similarities.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's do this. I want to really start with you, and I want to ask you this, because if you could bump into little Valeria right now and take her out for a milkshake, first of all, what flavor would she have? And what is something that you would tell her about the woman that you've become today?
The flavor will probably be vanilla, because I'm a basic bitch, but I embrace it. I play safe. What I would tell her about the woman that I am today, I think I broke through a lot of limitations that I acquired throughout my childhood. So from that perspective, I would be like, we got through it. Like, you did great. You're very self-aware and were able to become the woman you envisioned for yourself. Because I already had visions of her when I was little. Like, that I remember. But you know what? I wouldn't bother to tell her the rest of the work she needs to do. She's too young. I would be like, just chill, just enjoy. Don't feel everything so deep, Because I think that I picked up a lot of things, which I think is normal, as a child, that in a way prevented me to fully feel. Right? Like a survival mechanism. That now as an adult, I'm like, okay, it's time to.
I can relate to that. And I love that you say that, because I love that you would let your inner child be a child. I think some of us grow up really fast, or we carry a lot of, our parents' worries because we're witnessing it and stuff. So no one has ever said that. I love that you say that you would just, not really tell her much because she's too young to handle it.
Yeah.
Oh, you're a good mom.
Which is what I got chills. Thank you to myself. You know what? I think that's really important, and I'm trying to reminded or raised the kids like that, where, I mean, you know what, even not growing up in this like trauma infused environment for the kids, they still rush to grow up so fast.
Yeah, they do.
Don't you like want to just, guys, this is the best time right now.
Yes, I want them, I always tell my daughters, like, I can't wait till I drive one day, or I can't wait this. I'm like, everything comes with such responsibility. Like, isn't it nice sitting back there, just going to point A to point B? You don't have to be the offensive driver. You don't have to worry about time. Like, enjoy your life while you can. There's such freedom in that.
Yeah, but I guess we don't recognize it for a reason. There's like a process for all of us to go through in order to get here.
Yeah, and we're here. This podcast, Surviving Roots, is all about turning pain or some kind of, something in your past to your potential. And I'm such a big believer that it just comes to our choice. Like, it can either push us down in life or it can propel us forward. And you've definitely used a lot of stories from your upbringing and experiences to propel yourself. If there is one root that you had to heal in yourself to grow into the woman that you are today, what do you think that would be?
One route that I would. Gosh, it's hard to say. It's hard to like choose one.
I hear you.
But I think that I don't know what it was, because, which is interesting. I need to analyze it more. I grew up with a mother that always told me, like, you're the best and you are going to be on red carpets. Like, the reason why I never got tattoos, because she was like, what do you mean? You're going to be in Hollywood walking on a red carpet with a gown and you're going to have a tattoo on your arm? And I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. Like, sitting in Beersheba, at 12 years old. So I grew up with this like amazing vision that my mother had for me. Yet I, for some reason, just like didn't believe in myself, or I didn't believe it will happen to me. You know what I mean? There's like, I don't know where that come from, but it's interesting because I can't really point at anyone to be like, this is the reason why.
Yeah.
So
it's interesting that you say that. Again, like, you had this very supportive mother that was telling you, your big dreams, and you didn't really, believe in it, or you doubted it sometimes. And I didn't have a mother like that. But I ended up making myself believe in that. It's interesting. It sort of proves to the point where, like, no matter what, whether you have a supportive team or you don't, the belief in yourself is,
yeah,
that's where it's at.
That's where it's at. And I saw a TikTok that I reference quite often too when I speak to my friends about, a lot of us right now are in the season of talking about the traumas that our parents left us and this and that. But I saw this one girl saying, like, you guys, I had the most present mother who did everything. Everything was made from scratch. She was a superstar. And I have to go to therapy 4 times a week because I live with this fear of never measuring up to be like her. Ooh. Right? Like, never measuring up to be the woman that she was. So she was like, I'm just here to share with you that you're fucked either way.
Well, that's good to know. Honestly, that's actually a relief, because I am just, I grew up not having a mother, like watching a mother cook and stuff all the time. And then I lived in Manhattan for 16 years. So I ate out 5 times a week. And so my daughter's always like, why is it just a protein, a carb, and a vegetable? Like, why can't you cook this and that? And so now I'm like, I don't have the guilt. I'm like, either way, you're
no, I'm preventing trauma for you.
I am saving you from years of therapy. I don't want you to have to survive your childhood. Oh my God, Valeria, thank you so much.
You're welcome. I'll send you the link so you can save it and go back to it whenever you need to.
My God, please. Speaking of your mom, she made some bold moves while you were growing up. And I believe it was 21 when she started over and moved to Israel when you were very young. Now that you're a mother yourself, what do you understand more, like, when you look back at your mom during that time when she was doing all these like big moves, maybe even from a survival kind of standpoint?
I think I'm just in awe. It's hard for me to process the fight or flight kind of response that you need to have in order to not see all the scary things that can happen in the process, like you really don't have another option. And doing that move without anyone else, without the language, without the money, without just any like understanding of what's going to happen, not only to you but also to your like small child, it's insane. And I think that for the longest time I thought that I don't have the kind of strength that my mother has, but through the years I've realized that I have actually so much of the fabric she's made out of, you know, it just comes through in different ways. Thank God, not in the same. We're not repeating any cycles here, but I'm just in awe of her, because she was the beautiful thing that I'm still processing and trying to understand is that even though she's gone through all of that, she was so fully immersed in life. Like, she was always dressed beautifully. She always had friends. She partied. We always had people over. That's where I have a disconnect, because I feel like usually people that are in that kind of mode, they isolate and they're just trying to, like, you know, like catch a breath. But she like lived life.
What a special woman, seriously, because I mean, I can relate to the mom that was more in survival, and you just felt it. It was everything wasn't until then, or everything was, you know, she was the victim of everything. So that's actually really powerful and amazing. And bravo to your mom that you can go through those kinds of hardships. I mean, that's pretty terrifying. She was really young, moving to another country, language barrier, small child, and you have those memories of her, like life of the party and strong and well dressed, and that's amazing. That's you don't hear that a lot. You really don't.
I know, and I'm trying to understand like what was that motivation? Is that just who she is? Is that from her parents? We have so many gaps in our family history because my grandmother was adopted, you know. So, and then my mother found out that the father she thought was hers is not, and she was the product of a affair. So there's just like a lot of question marks, and you know, so it's hard for us to understand. Okay, where is this coming from? Where are these traits? Is this you know, missing father that we don't know where he is, or is it from? So I've been really on a mission to try to connect the dots, and we talk often now about going back to Russia or actually Ukraine, because my grandmother, biological mother, was from Ukraine. So like maybe we can find some kind of information that will bring a little bit more light, because to me it goes so much more back than just my mom. You know what I mean? Or her mom.
Of course.
So I'm still on the search.
That's fascinating, and I love that you're so curious and that you're open to it. I actually watched recently your vlog from your, I love that you say bio dad, your meeting your biological dad. You were just like so brave and like so innocent, and I honestly felt so nervous for you. I was watching that video because, I mean, recently, probably a year ago, I was at a hair salon, and like I went to flip a foil and I looked over, and I swear I thought it was my estranged mom of 15 years sitting beside me. So I literally could not breathe. And then I like had to calm myself down. And I was watching your vlog. I was like, I can't imagine like you're literally going to meet your bio dad, and you were just cool as a cucumber. I mean, yes, it was emotional and things like that. But what I found most sort of entertaining was that all the adults acted like you were just there last Sunday for dinner. Like they seemed very cool. Do you think is it a cultural thing?
It's a cultural thing.
Or maybe because you had the camera? I don't know.
No, I think it's a completely cultural thing.
Why is nobody freaking out or crying?
By the way, this is what I'm trying to break. This is my new like thing where I need to feel, because I think that it's cultural, because that whole side of the world is also moving with, you know, on trauma and their own kind of way of living, right? So it's just piling up on top of the same foundation. But it is first of all, me being really chilled about it. It's called disassociation.
I like that you can own it.
It truly was. And but you know, I wasn't as emotionally invested because And maybe I would act differently today, but back then I just didn't really feel like I needed anything from him. Like he wouldn't have gave me anything that was missing, you know. I was so fortunate to grow up with a mother that showed me what can be done in the world, and I did have a father figure in my life on and off, so I got that. And then what I didn't get, you know, I married a man with values and morals and characteristics that little Valeria needed. So I was like, I figured it all by myself. I just really wanted to be like, is there any family diseases I need to know about? Like, let's talk facts, you know? But it was very interesting to see how, now reflecting, how he gone through it, like the whole experience. Because I could tell now watching the video that he was also, it's like he didn't know what's the right thing to do. And I don't remember if I shared it in the video, but we had a moment when we were, my mother threw a party at the town that we were in. And we were dancing, him and I, and he just kind of whispered in my ear, being like, I'm so sorry, like I was so young. And I was like, yeah, that's fine. Yeah. But that's a lot.
That's a lot.
For someone from that generation, from that culture, and in general, just like owning it, even if it wasn't this big gesture, it's fine.
It's fine. I also think because you had such a mom that honestly sounds like she can handle 10 roles instead of 2, that you had, you just had a very good role model.
I was just angry for her.
Yeah.
That was always, and in general, I feel like I was always growing up feeling angry about the sacrifices that she needed to make and that she had to endure because of the men that were in her life.
Yeah.
That was really bothering me.
Yeah. You think that helped really guide you to meet and settle with the partner such as Gary? You know, you really had a lot of sort of your mom's experience, so you were able to really connect and find like your true partner.
Yes, I think it was very surprising for me that I got married that young. My mother was completely shocked. She's like, I did not think you're going to get married ever.
She was like, the red carpet, Valeria, Hollywood.
Right. But also I think for her seeing the way I was internalizing of a lot of the childhood and what I saw, she probably was like, she's not going to trust a man ever. So the reason why I think everything went so fast with Gary was because it was this feeling that I knew how to explain, but I didn't know how it feels. And when I met Gary, I was like, oh, this is how it feels. This is how it feels to feel safe in your body. This is how it feels to feel safe in your life, like with being safe in a relationship, you know. And I recognized from throughout my childhood that that's something my mother never had. So I never want to be there. But yeah, she taught me a lot, and thankfully I'm the kind of learner that doesn't have to experience it to learn it. I can just observe and learn it.
Ooh, everyone, please let that soak in.
And they're different. Like even with my kids, you know, I'm like, okay, this one is gonna have to experience it. Life is gonna beat him up until he'll be like, oh, right, okay, this is a lesson. Another one would be like, okay, he's gonna learn like me. So it's very interesting.
It's so funny you say that. I can see the difference now. Like my daughter would be like, oh, mommy, there's a white van. Maybe we shouldn't park that close since we're alone. Let's park down there. My son would be like, do you think he's got free puppies in the back? Like, seriously, that's what I'm dealing with right now. So I guess that's actually really true.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting.
You know, your mom, you have one thing about you, like in everything you just said, you have a strength about you, but you're also very gentle. So from what you're saying about your mom, do you think that comes from your mom? Even though you just mentioned like the cultural differences in being like very strong, but you do have a gentleness about you that like even now, or even when you walk in, you have a light, but you have a gentleness and a grace about you, but yet you're a very strong woman. How do you balance that? What do you think that sort of comes from? Is that wisdom and life experience as you've gotten older, or is that just because you've, you know, been through a lot early on and you've learned from it?
First of all, thank you so much. I don't know if anyone will agree with you about the gentleness, but I think that it comes from an aspect of like maybe humility. Just because, as you get older, you just start to understand and analyze and really feel for the stories and the experiences of other people. So you just like move. And maybe I also became more gentler with myself.
Yeah.
That's also a big shift that happened for me as I got older. But yeah, I think that for me, my natural way of being is not feeling much and just kind of moving, and I've been really working on breaking that because it's just not a way of living that serves me anymore. But it's a lot of work.
Yeah, I can relate to that. Can you share some tips with people of how you're sort of tapping into the more emotional feeling side?
Well, as a Virgo, I have a formula that I've recognized that I go by, which has been very helpful. But I'll give you an example that I was talking a little bit more about this year. But something that I've learned, and by the way, I had a hypnotherapy session.
Ooh, I want to hear about this.
Yeah, I had a hypnotherapy session where I've come to her and I told her I want to feel more joy in my life. I feel like at this point it's like I feel guilty for not being able to embrace the joy, and it's like my mind hasn't caught up with all the blessings that I have around me, and like I don't want to move like that anymore, So with the joy part, it's something like it's a process for me. I feel like I started noticing it and observing it for like 2 years. Just like, oh, I feel like in this moment when I look around, people are reacting in different ways and I'm reacting a little, like there's not a lot going on there. Like, there's no pulse.
Yeah.
So like, what's going on? So I really started noticing myself. And then I started looking at the triggers. Is it like about certain topics? Is it certain environments? Like what is triggering me to be so like muted and composed and put together? And where's the messy? Where's the like really, fully in it? And then what I started doing is looking around and finding people that are showing me how it's done. When you look around and just like there's certain people that move around in life, there's just like natural feeling of joy.
Yeah.
And I'm the kind of person where I need to see it in order to believe it, because it's one thing where you can analyze something and kind of bring a lot of brain activity there and understanding and definitions, and it's a lot of intellectualizing everything, but how do you embody it? Like, how does it look? So in Miami, I started seeing people and singling out, like, people around me. And I'm like, this is a joyful person. This is a joyful person. And I would just, like, observe them.
Yeah.
And I think once I connected the awareness and catching the triggers and what situations I usually, like, step back, and then also seeing how joy looks in action, I was able to, like, put myself in situations, and it's a bit mechanic at first, but then it becomes like it's a muscle. And then
So I have to work out more. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, basically, yeah. And then I would just, because you're breaking like a certain wiring in your brain, right? So at first it feels very awkward. Like I would have situations where it's like, okay, we are here and I'm supposed to be happy, but I'm not. Why am I not happy? What triggered me? Maybe this topic, is it something that scares me? Is it scarcity? Is it this? Is it that? And then what would that person that's a joyful person, like I see how they're behaving and I need to like activate that in my body. Is it the way they move? Is it something they do physically? It's not all from the head. And then I started modeling it. And then you kind of like do it more and more and more, and it starts coming naturally to you.
Yeah.
And it sounds crazy. I know. It's like, trust me, it's like a little robotic, but it worked.
No, I can see this. I'm actually going to start using these tips a bit, because I find myself definitely tapping into joy more, but I'm alone at home because I'm writing right now. So it's the meditation and the walking and the weighted, like all my joyful stuff I'm doing is a lot of the times alone. And I notice when I'm in public or at events or things like that, I'm still sort of like the guarded, like, I don't know. I can't let myself relax. And you recently took a trip with a bunch of girls. I think was it Brazil?
Yes.
And I was watching your videos. All of you guys were posting, and I thought, oh my God, that looks so freeing to like go walk out and just start crazy dancing and not be in your head.
But that group, this is where I brought my couple of years of training, this whole process into action, because that specific group were the group that I was observing. Like my Brazilian friends, joy comes very naturally to them. And I was very can you imagine how creepy it is where I'm like in dysfunctions and I'm just sitting there being like, why did you hug her?
Yeah.
Or like, what, I'm like observing and analyzing everything. And it's truly like how they move naturally. But that trip was an opportunity for me to truly tap into it, because I had no more excuses. I brought awareness to the topic. I know it bothers me. I want to change it. I know how it looks like. Now it's time to show up, So that trip was heart opening for me.
That's amazing. Yeah, one, you would have missed out on so much fun if you wouldn't have leaned into it. And two, you would have looked so awkward the entire time because there were so many people posting. You would have been like, what is that, a tree? What is that? Is that Valeria?
Right.
Standing
straight
there
up.
Like, what's everybody doing?
I actually had, yesterday, I was hosting this luncheon, and there were my friends, the Brazilian friends, and they're sitting and they're like hugging each other or like putting their hands on each other. And they're already used to my like weirdness. So I was like, wow, you guys really you're very physical people. Like where does the need to touch each other comes from? Because again, we didn't grow up like that. My mother is very affectionate. My mother is actually so emotional, which is very not like Russian women. And in a way, it backfired on her because she was so emotional that I was like, yeah, no. I'm not doing this. This is too much. So I went the other way. But, it's me sitting yesterday being like, I'm going to put my head on your knee now. Is this weird? She's like, Valeria, you're just, if you feel like you want to hug someone, just hug someone. I'm like, okay, I'm learning.
Oh my gosh, that is too funny.
Now I'm telling you, I'm like learning new skills is like a 35-year-old. Basic human skills.
Aren't we all? Aren't we all? We really are. Speaking about structure, not only just behaving in such a structure, but I was recently at the women's luncheon, the panel that you spoke at. It was beautiful. You were such an amazing speaker.
Thank you.
You mentioned about like how do you do everything? How do you do you? And you talked about like your life is completely structured, even to like relaxing time, I think you said. Can you just tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah. Well, when I pick up all these projects and, my need to really be intentional and also successful with what I do, I have to be able to do it without all the chaos. And I mean, even with the structure, my life is chaotic because there's 100 balls in the air at all times, which, most women experience it, even if you're not an entrepreneur and have a business. But I just really need this like concrete blocks that I can, when I open my phone and I see, okay, you're getting dressed now. This is your time for breakfast. Like it's so structured for me that there is no room for interpretation. And when I do have interpretation room, that means that everything is going like all over the place because that's my brain starts just like going, oh, maybe I'll do this and maybe I'll do this because I developed ADHD.
Yeah.
And in today's world, I feel like it's inevitable in a way. So I make sure that everything is planned by specifically the relaxation time, and the doing nothing time is also very important for me. My team doesn't block relaxation time, but for me, I block it for myself. So when I see gaps, I'm like, okay, this is time where I go on Pinterest, or I daydream, or I journal, or I just walk, or I just stand and look at the wall. I don't know, whatever works, whatever it feels like I need.
I love that. I just got this image of you of like, your team is like, you have a designer collab shoot. Why are you cleaning out your closet?
Yeah,
it's like, because you didn't block, you left 15 minutes too much.
100%. 100%. When I did a surgery for my nose a couple of months ago, and I had like days off. And Celine, my assistant, I would send her a picture of me, like I was reorganizing the whole thing. And she's like, oh my God, can you please, you're messing it up. It's like going to take us more time to figure out this, whatever new system you put together. But I can't have this like unsupervised or like unscheduled time.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. You know, I mean, I actually try to even schedule like my husband laughs at me, like being spontaneous. Like, I don't know, I thrive in structure too. I'm not one of those people that it's like, oh, we're gonna just hop in the car and drive to the Keys and have lunch or something quickly. I'm just like, but what do you mean? Like, I don't know.
It's just like a domino effect. Listen, when you're on vacation, it's different, right? It's a different environment. You don't have the day-to-day kind of things that are waiting on you. So that's different. But when I'm here, I need to feel like there is a rhythm. I need that rhythm. And that rhythm comes from me from scheduling it. Yeah. So everything, as you get older and there's so many things coming at you, you understand that in order to be successful and honestly not lose your mind, you got to have a game plan.
You got to have a game plan. Mm-hmm. Speaking of game plan, in structure, you literally, you recently signed with a literary agent.
Literally.
Literary. God,
yes.
Cari. Can you tell us about that? Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
Can you tell us about it? What made you start this new chapter in your life?
Just like any other project that I picked up, I always picked it up from a place of I want to challenge myself and I want to evolve into something that I'm already doing into something bigger. And, with my social media, when I first started, it was YouTube, then it moved to short form, and then I was really looking for a place to have longer conversations. So we launched Not Alone podcast. And with these long conversations, and as I'm getting older, I'm like, okay, now I want to kind of have something that will define this like era of me, this journey that I've been going through for the past 9-10 years. And book was what came to mind. I've been so fortunate to not only have time to observe and like document the process that I was going through in my podcast. I'm also sitting down with people that I admire and respect that share their process. And, there's so many similarities. Like we're all experiencing such similar things and maybe looking differently from the outside. But I really wanted to just like put it in a book because I know that other women can pick it up and be like, okay, I'm not crazy. This is this journey, this cycle that we're all going through.
You're not crazy. You're not alone. And I think, books are sort of like when you're driving in the car and you hear a song on the radio and it pulls you in, you connect to it and it lingers with you. I think that, like words are the same thing. So I'm very excited for you.
Even if, no one's going to read it, I don't know. For me, which they will read it.
They will read it.
But for me, it's like even will be the symbolic thing, where you put it all and you like close it, you're done, and you're on to the next book, of your life.
And it also is something that lives forever.
Yes.
That's what's sort of like part of your legacy. It lives forever.
Yeah. I know. It's really special.
It is. What are you... So you're excited about this project. Anything scaring you about it?
Everything's scaring me about it. What do you mean? Everything is scary. Do you feel the same? There's so many doubts.
I mean, I think, as a writer and writing a book, you just have to have thick skin because one, you have to be tapped into your vulnerability. You have to be willing to show up. That's what I think makes a book is that you're not just writing it for yourself, you're writing it for other people, but you just have to be willing to put it all out there. And also, you have to be good with rejection. Even if it's like not a publisher rejecting you, it's just a reader rejecting you. You just have to write it and not worry about, how it's going to be received or pleasing everyone.
I think for me, what scares me the most is more of like when I'm putting these words out and these experiences that I've had, do you ever just like, did it really happen, or am I making this up? Like sometimes I'm just like, is this the fruit of my imagination, or
100%? And then I'm like, am I gaslighting myself?
Exactly.
Like, that's what I'm doing.
That's the mental gymnastics.
Maybe it wasn't that bad. Maybe I didn't have, I talk about all these like things that came from just like my upbringing, whether it was perfectionism or, I had an eating disorder for decades. Like maybe it wasn't that. Maybe it was Kate Moss on the cover of Vogue. Like, I don't know. I start to second guess my life story. And then I'm like, I'm gaslighting myself.
No, I don't think you understand. I had a full like identity shift recently because I gaslit myself to have an identity shift.
Oh my gosh.
But for the longest time, when we started having all these conversations about our upbringing and this and that, I was like, yeah, my mother was, because I have a lot of friends that have similar experiences. We come from similar backgrounds and culture, and they're like, yeah, our mothers were so busy and they were working all the time and were neglected, and this whole like theme of neglect. And I was like, yeah, totally, we were neglected. I was playing into it. I was like, yeah, this is why I'm the way I am. And then literally a couple of months ago, I'm sitting and doing my scheduled thinking time, and I'm just like, wait, I was not neglected. My mother was there when it mattered. Like, I never felt that I had no one to turn to. And maybe she wasn't there all the time, but again, when it mattered, she was there. So I don't actually have any memories of feeling abandoned.
Yeah.
So then I had to like reconvene with all my friends, and I was like, guys, so actually, fun fact, I was not neglected, and I cannot participate in these conversations anymore because that was not my experience. So now I had to be like, okay, so back to the drawing board. What was the reason?
Thank God for your self-awareness, and thank God you realized that before you wrote your book, because all of a sudden we would hear, your mom just got a book deal. She's coming out with a tell-all of, I did not neglect my daughter.
100%.
I'm the one that told her she's going to Hollywood.
This is all in her head. Yes.
Oh my
gosh. It's been a very interesting process to even, as a human, like with our own human experience and perception of the world, like how we view even each event in our lives through different lenses as we get older. The way I viewed an experience that I had when I was 20 is so different than the way I view it now after becoming a mother or being in my, mid 30s. Like, these things change all the time.
Yeah.
And I even had to come to terms with the fact that it's okay that it's going to change.
Yeah.
Like, it's not me losing my mind. Like, there is no this like clear and definitive narrative.
Yeah.
It will constantly be shifting and changing.
It will constantly. I mean, I'm 47 and I've just been on this journey, especially out loud and sharing and really being vulnerable for only 3 years. I mean, I'm 47. That means it took all the way until my mid 40s to really dissolve the perfectionism, to really lean into being like honest with myself. And I mean, it just goes to show you, like, if I could go back and tell my 20-something-year-old self, like, don't worry about what you're going to be when you grow up. Just lean into joy, or learn to trust yourself. All of those inner things, you're going to be okay. Because I mean, I don't know, who knows what I'm going to be doing when I'm 60 or when I'm 70. I mean,
100%.
Do you ever think to yourself, like, if you weren't this Valeria Lipovetsky, what do you think else, like, what kind of work would bring you light?
I don't quite know, but I have this memory when I was 10 years old, and one of my childhood friends reminded me the other day. We became best friends at the age of 9 back in Israel. And she said, Valeria, do you remember when we were sitting in your room and we were talking about like who we want to be and whatever, and I asked you, like, what are you going to do when you grow up? And I answered, I don't know, I have so many options. Like, I might be a singer, I might be a lawyer, I might be... And it was so special that she reminded me of that answer, because what I'm doing now and the way I'm thinking and moving through life shows me that I am coming back to that mindset that I had as a child, because at the age of 26, when I was lost and confused and had this idea in my head that I have to decide what it is that I'm going to be, and this is it, it's going to be definitive for the rest of my life, And I pushed myself to get into social media, and it's like, in a way, I'm doing exactly what the 10-year-old Valeria said she's gonna do, because I'm not just creating content. I run a company, and I am writing a book, and I'm doing this and I'm doing that, because that was always what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
So for me was this like coming back to that child, and it was really it was like this green light, a confirmation that I'm on the right path.
You're on the right path. Yeah, I think you are.
I think so.
I mean, I don't think there's any turning back now. I think you
No,
are.
it's too late. It's too late. But you know what? I wanted to ask you, what was an event that happened to you, or like what was that moment where you were like, the way I'm living is no longer serving me, and this perfectionism, like, it's not it anymore?
I can remember the exact moment. I was in lockdown during COVID, and I had like groceries delivered, and my husband was like, what are these bagel bites? Because we feed our kids very organic, very, clean foods. And he's like, what are these bagel bites? Why would you order these? And it stopped me, because I started my eating disorder when I was very young, probably like 12 or 13, and bagel bites was like a comfort thing for me. And I realized that I'm not as in control as I think I am. Then here is like, I'm scared at what's happening in the world. Like, I have no sense of control. I can't keep myself busy because I usually am so busy. Everything is shut down. I'm just sitting here with my kids and not knowing what to do. I have no way to like numb myself with like chaos and fight or flight. Like, I'm sitting here and all of these feelings started coming up. And I realized when I ordered like an old comfort food from my childhood, I thought, oh my gosh, like this is like a make or break moment, Cari. You're either gonna like spiral and like, I don't know, turn towards bulimia and start like freaking out about everything, or you're gonna have to really like face yourself and say, you're not as healed as you think you are. And I realized I needed to stop hiding behind this perfectionism mask, like doing everything so perfectly, being the perfect mom, being the perfect wife. Like I was, like perfect skin, perfectly dressed. And now I'm just like, my husband's like, you think we could reel it back? Like today, my kids are like, where are you going? You're not in your workout clothes. And I was like, showered, blowout. Like I need to sort of like reel it back in a bit. I've gotten too comfortable with myself. But I think it was, I just felt triggered, and I did something that was probably from my childhood when I was very unhappy and felt broken. And I thought, that's the thing about pain, is it's going to come back and revisit you over and over again until you really deal with it.
Yeah.
So,
and sometimes it comes disguised as bagel bites.
Oh,
and if you're not
it's
aware
so
enough,
disgusting bagel bites. I know.
If you're not aware enough, then you would be like, oh, I'm just having a little snack, whatever. What's the big deal?
Yeah.
But you saw those bagel bites, you're like,
and I was like,
my
my
God.
gosh. I literally went into the bedroom and shut the door, and I thought, okay, this is a moment to be like, you are not going to go down trigger alley here. And, you were a mom of those kids out there. And if you're not going to do it for yourself, like do it for them. Your mom, your kids don't need like a mom that's like, spiraling. So I think it was really when I was in lockdown and I couldn't like numb myself with busyness and crazy schedules, I had to really sit with myself. And sitting still, like I can't believe I meditate now. Sitting still and in silence has been my biggest gift, but I never did any of that until I was 45 years old.
Wow.
It's crazy.
That is very crazy.
Yeah.
I think one of the best things that happened to me as a child was leaving home very early and starting my life very early, independently, because I traveled and I was alone so much. And I remember the first year how lonely I was, but then the second, third, fourth year, I was alone, but I wasn't lonely, because like I had to find a way to build a relationship with myself and to know myself so well that it really helped me with even this crazy pace of my life. I still am able to connect so deeply to myself. Like it never left me, that relationship. And if it wasn't for me leaving that early and, the world making me learn who I am, I would probably find a lot of different things to distract myself with.
Yeah.
And I think that it's very common for people to have these realizations like much later in life because we're so busy and we're like on autopilot, and we're masking all of that pain and all of that work with so many different things that feel like a priority. My kids are important now, my marriage, my career, like I'll deal with this later, if ever.
Yeah, if ever.
Yeah.
Could take decades.
Yeah, 100% it takes decades.
It's so true. I think that's why I love about the writing process, and I'm so excited for you because so much happens in between words, and you just, once you write it down and once it's out there, once you post about something, it's like you're facing your truth, and it's like, okay, and then you just keep moving forward, and you just have such distance with it. So with that distance just becomes clarity, and I don't know, it's very powerful.
But how do you keep yourself light when you write such a, deep, vulnerable book?
It's interesting because it does bring you back to the past, but I think because I'm so comfortable with my truth now, and I've really dissolved a lot of shame and all of those things, I am comfortable being like, I'm comfortable being okay with who I was, because who I am now, I'm really proud of. I see it in my kids' eyes. I feel it, and I don't know. I know this may sound crazy. Somebody asked me one time, like, well, what do you fear now? And I'm like, I honestly don't fear things. I fear like not having my family and us not having our health, but I don't really fear things anymore. I don't fear anyone judging me. I mean, I put it all out there. I don't fear being rejected because I have my family and we have our health. Like I used to live so fearful of like people not accepting me or me being liked or loved, and I just I don't live in fear anymore. So I don't know. I think I write something and I'm like, okay, little Cari. And then I'm like off to watch my kid play tennis, or, off to meet my friends for lunch or something. I don't know. I think I'm more present right now in this life than I can get ever stuck in like a past. Yeah.
I also feel that this age, the age you're in, like 40s, and I heard 50s is even like better.
I hope so.
Yeah. No, listen, I've been seeing.
Don't break me now. Don't tell me that it's not.
I've been seeing too many living examples that 50s is where it's at.
Okay.
So it makes sense, like the freedom that you're talking about obviously comes with all the work that you put into it.
Yeah.
Because you need to put in the work to feel light, but it's also age. Like you can't run away from it. Like you can't.
You really can't. I don't know. And here's what I like to remind myself of and tell people. At the end of the day, everything is work. So I can either not be truthful with myself. I can keep pushing pain down and running from the past. And that's a lot of work. But then I'm that version of Cari. Or I can put in the work, heal, connect, align, and I can be this version of Cari. Either way, both jobs are a lot of work. So which one do I want to be? And I'm like, I'm going to be this one. I'm going to be, the connected, aligned Cari. Because everyone wins that way.
Amen.
We have all these little people calling us moms that they depend on us. We have to have some of our shit together. It's insane. How dare they?
You know what I always think about? Like, how come there is no, like, you know how you need to, in order to get into a car and get a license, like you have all this testing you have to get through and all these other things, how come we don't have that as parents? Like who gave us the permission? Like who decided this person? You'll be able to keep little humans alive. Like I feel like there needs to be a bit of a
something, if you ever find out who they are, because they're always like, well, they say,
right,
or they, I don't know, it's this invisible they
team. Invisible they.
I don't know how you can go and like create a human being and then be responsible for raising another human being without like, I don't know, you have to be 21 to drink alcohol, you have to be 15 or 16 to drive a car.
That's what I'm saying.
You have to be 18 to serve in the army, like.
Right, but procreate and have kids and decide the future of society, like go for it.
It's crazy. It really is.
God. But you know what? I do feel that our generation is much harder because we are so truthful about our own flaws. Like we are rewriting so much of our stories, but also our children's stories in order for them not to repeat what was done before. So parenting and motherhood feels like, adulting in general just feels like so much more. So I even remember I would ask my mom when the kids were little, like, how did you do this and how did you do that? And she's like, we just did it because whatever, we just did it. They didn't, there was no, it wasn't that deep.
Yeah.
Just like we just needed to move on to survive,
Yeah.
you know, whatever needed to be done.
And we just did it.
Right.
And nowadays, if you don't do it well, your kids are going to start talking about it on social media. So just get it right the first time. The world is witnessing. I'm just kidding.
Exactly.
Speaking of mothering, I want to know, how are you going to be spending Mother's Day this year?
Well, I'm actually traveling on Mother's Day for work, but we are going to do the day before Mother's Day, we're going to do a little brunch with the family.
Amazing.
Yes, and yeah, just spending time together.
Spending time. Yeah.
You know what pissed me off though?
What?
You know how the kids have this Mother's Day activities at school?
Mm-hmm.
And it always makes me so angry because I'm like, with the working mothers who can't be there. Because with my older kids, fine, they understand. By my 6-year-old, if I'm not there, he's like, I was the only one with... So I have to now plan this whole thing where he's not going to go to school when there's the Mother's Day activity.
Yeah.
So he's not seeing...
I had to do that. Actually, 1 year I had to do that. They didn't go to school. And then the second year, once I got out of my perfect mom overcommitment, have no room for your own life mode, I actually was my first conference. I went somewhere and I couldn't miss it. And it was a Mother's Day event. And so my husband was there on Mother's Day FaceTiming me. And you could just see all the teachers in the background. Yes. And I was like, really? I'm trying to actually make myself a priority and not take away from the love for my family. But really? And I've got the sad teachers in the back and my son with his dad at a Mother's Day event. And I was just like...
Yeah, I have to tell you, I think that my sanity and what centers me is Gary, because he always reminds me, he's like... These things don't matter.
Yeah.
It's just all the bells and whistles of
It's true.
of society. But
true.
that's not well, tell it to Maxie who's going to be freaking sitting there being I'm the only one without my mom. But we'll get through it.
We'll get through it. Well, I just want to thank you for today. I'm really grateful to share this space with you, and I'm grateful for your time and just being able to connect with you in person more like this outside of the Halloween costumes and things like that. Oh my God, thanks for that.
I can't wait to see next year's Halloween costume because it needs to be super DIY. Well, you're gonna put a sticker and a thing on, and that's it.
I'm trying not to have the old perfectionist in me get triggered because the last 2 years I did not dress up at all, and I was one of the few moms walking in that sweaty heat in our neighborhood trick-or-treating where I was like, I don't want to dress up, and I didn't. And so now I'm just see, this is me going way too far in the other direction.
Okay, so this next year you just buy an Amazon crown or something, or a tail, whatever.
I am.
It's all good. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for being
really
here.
Fun.
Thank you. Thank you for joining me for this week's episode of Surviving Roots. I hope it gave you something meaningful to carry with you. Let's keep this conversation going. Find me on Instagram at cari.fund, where I'll share more from the show. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share this with someone who needs it. And remember, we are the choices that we make.